everything working? Everything looks like it's working. Great. All right. Oh boy. Yeah. Fine. Okay. All right. All right. Good. All right. Hi. Hello, everyone. Actually made it like on timing thread. Great. Oh. It definitely takes a long while for. Oh, it's behind. Stop being behind. All right. That looks like it's going well. That looks like it's going well. Hello, everyone. And how is? All right. So we're gonna be doing a bit of just kind of talking around. As you see the title. So basically, what pre-shows are an hour or so before the podcast, where I'm supposed to be streaming anyway that night. And so to keep with my streaming schedule, I make sure and do a start at the original time, which is 9 o'clock my time, and we'll fill the gap with whatever it is we do here. Today we're going to be talking about Star Citizen's bigness problem, and by big I don't mean square kilometers. I mean as a video game. And this is not something that I would like generally talk about, because like off the cuff I would just say no, they're just more big means more time. But I was watching, let me get his name right. I believe it was Red J. That's his name. Where is the video? That is a giant creepy spider. That's not what I want to see. He just put out a video. Something or other. Nope. Not there. Where is it? Where did I put it? Alright, history. Yeah, Red J is the YouTuber. He made a video apparently a long time ago about building interiors, which has made me want to make one as well. Hello, Tree. Good evening. I will try and remember to make sure I can see Discord so that I get the ping. Yeah. I will definitely see it when I come back. There. 5 different windows open on the same screen. But the idea. So when the original the CitizenCon demo released, and we were with everyone, they were talking about building interiors. I'm like, oh, cool. So all the big buildings in all these cities will actually have interiors. That was not the whole plan. The entire plan is not just the interiors of buildings and like we fly to them in their dungeons. The idea is a fully interior of a city, a full interior city. And we're actually going to go to that video that I really should have had queued up, but I didn't. Actually, I had it there anyway. All right. Where is this? Oh. There. There. You guys don't have to see my tens of thousands of tabs. So specifically when they were talking, right? I believe it was right around here. Where this window is going to show up. Here and pause that and then minimize it, and then we can switch over here. All right. So listen to what he says. I hope this comes through properly. Oops.
to be more of a backdrop to the landing zone. We have the social space generally in the middle, and then the cityscape goes around it. And they've been designed to give the best composition, to be interesting to fly around, but we've not really thought about designing these buildings from the inside out. So what we're looking at here is some potential concepts for what could be interesting landing spaces that drives the architecture of the building. With landing pads, it doesn't necessarily need to be on the top of the building. It could be, halfway down or lower. So imagine, you're in the lower parts of the city, and then we'd open up these additional play spaces. And as you can see here, it's not just the landing pad, it's the gameplay space that goes along with it too. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a single building. Imagine there is a network hub that services a few different buildings. So what we're looking at here is maybe like a transit hub where the player could land, get on some transit, and then that would lead to some buildings. Okay, so
he starts off by saying, so far cities have only been a backdrop. And then he starts talking about buildings that they could build instead of them being a backdrop. And he mentioned several times, where's the screenshot? The underground and city transit. Actually, really didn't see this the first time. There's a SkyTrain kind of port there. That's really cool. And following that kind of like concept out, that like sure we could have buildings that are not part of the full interior buildings. There we go. So we can still have like flavor buildings. So I'm not saying like ArtCorp, or at least I don't think they want ArtCorp to be a fully interiorized city. Though it's a large portion. Like because they're trying to do this procedurally, it will be trivial to make the procedural tech that they built ArtCorp to use this tech, and basically you just have this tree of what are they called, succeeding or successive portions of the game that are procedural, and so you can make all of ArtCorp be interiorized. The biggest problem is once you go through, let's say, 100 kilometers of interior in ArtCorp, you start to get bored of it. But think of real world. Other than in the real world, cities are built over tens or hundreds. so many. File tree, not a 0311 tree. So in like IRL, cities are built over tens, hundreds, or thousands of years, and so they like every step of the way their architecture changes. There's different types of architecture. Different architects handle different areas, and different things are the money's coming from different places. So you get this woven fabric of all these different people working on the working on the cityscape. With something like ArtCorp or Microtech, most of the architecture there was built by a single entity. Sure, they lease it out to almost anyone, and sure, there will be like separate buildings that like, hey, I want to buy this area and build my own thing, or demolish the building there and build my own thing. Like, for instance, there are a couple odd buildings on Microtech. I think Omega Pro has their very unique building there. But in ArtCorp, like, a lot of it is very, very samey. And that would, like, even having that monotonous where, like, all the skyscrapers have interiors that are vaguely the same. You just have, like, specialized one. Like, this is, an office building. This is a apartment building. This is a whatever buildings they have, and then have the the warehouses, the forages, the factories and things. It would make sense that they all kind of look the same, and it would get really boring going through them all over and over again, because that's how the city was built. It's built to be like at least the direction is it's built to be functional, not appealing. Even though the ArtCorp aesthetic is very appealing to a lot of people. So, we've been talking about building interiors in landing zones. And that's like a lot of gameplay. I actually plan to do a whole video on it. But that's just where we're going to start the conversation. Star Citizen being too big is not just about the interiors. It's about we've spent in 2 years. Oh, no. What is it? It was started in 2012. Okay, so it was 10 years. So it's been 11 years in one system. And we've talked about this a lot. Me and Trey have talked about this a lot. Like, yes, we spent the 10 years in the one system, or 11 years now, and it's just going to get faster and faster. We get more and more and more of them. Yes, for sure, absolutely. It's not the point of this entire section here. But we've spent 10 years in this system, and we're going to spend probably roughly a year or so in the next one. And they will get faster and faster as we get them. And eventually we'll get many landing zones. Except we're not done with the first one. ArcCorp needs a complete rework. A lot of the systems that will change how landing zones work is still not in. So we're going to be making all of these landing zones and have to come rework them and rework them. Well, not we, but they will be making these landing zones and keep reworking them because different tech will come online and we'll have to, like, you know, when hacking comes in, that's going to have to be an entire update to all the landing zones so that you can actually hack stuff and doors and get behind where you're not supposed to be. Those places where you're not supposed to be will have to be put in. And that won't be assisted by procedural generation in this building interior system. And that's just that. We also have big gameplay systems, farming, deep space exploration, cooking, science, like all of these things. And they don't have, at least publicly, they do not have an MVP. And MVPs, for those who don't know much about game design, is a minimum viable product. They have never said publicly what the minimum viable product is for Star Citizen. They've had some like moonshots, like, oh, we're gonna have, you know, 100 plants or 100 systems at launch, and then it's like, well, maybe less systems, like 20 systems at launch or whatever. But what is like the core? They've never said publicly what they want to do for version 1. Not what they want to do for the final version of the game, but what do they want to say? Okay, we're going to get to this point with these things. We're going to polish it. We're going to bring it through beta and then alpha, then beta, then release, and then we'll start tacking on these other things, such as farming, deep space exploration, and so on and so forth. We know that it will. We know because we are at the point we are now that will include server meshing, engineering gameplay, and it may include building homesteads, just because that is technology that they now have. But again, we don't know if that's part of the MVP or version 1. But they have just this laundry list of things. They have no external priority. We have the roadmap. We don't have their priority list. And looking at the like, if we were to look at a different roadmap, I'm trying to think of a good example where it said, "Hey, we're going to work on this and then this," and they were large things, like not like every single game mechanic, but like we're going to work on, you know, getting multiplayer in before we get into, you know, tech tier 2 or whatever. And Star Citizen has never publicly had that kind of priority list or their wish list of core features that once they hit that wish list, they're going to bring that product to version 1. And kind of where the name of the kind of pre-show comes from is Star Citizen Too Big, is if they're trying to do everything before version 1, even though they have said some things will fall, they've said some things will fall post-launch. They haven't said what those things are, and they sure as heck hasn't said what is in version 1. So if they try and do everything they want to do, or everything they have shown that they're trying to work on, yeah, if everything they've tried to work on since 2012 is part of the version 1 Star Citizen. I'm not saying the stuff that's they're working on now. I'm saying everything that they've touched on since. Like, we still have a lot of crafting to go. And I'm not just talking about, like, dump random resources in, get items out. It's going to be a very specific. It's going to be different for cooking, for item making, for base building, whatever it is you do. We don't have any furniture in the game right now, at least movable furniture. We're still waiting on player halves, player hangers. And a lot of this stuff is a question, mostly because everything is locked behind this veil of server meshing. Not technologically, but I guess what is the word? Communicatively. Like, a lot of Star Citizen stuff is, oh, wait till server meshing, oh, wait till server meshing, oh, wait till server meshing, 4.0 this, 4.0 that. And we just don't know what they plan to do. We don't even know how many, like, servers they want to mesh for version 1. They haven't said how many planets, how many systems. What are their, like, what are they going to call their core gameplay loops, or gameplay loops that they want online before version 1? None of this has been said. And it's probably the scariest part for Star Citizen for me, is if they try and achieve everything, they will ultimately achieve nothing. Because eventually, and this is kind of spurred on a lot by Crystalist Driver and Access. Hello, you both. This is kind of spurred on by the funding not exactly being what is it called? Looking good this year. The crematorium today. What? Crematorium today was going nonstop. Lots of folks getting smokified. Okay. Do I need to do that to do that? There we go. So maybe not consistently. So, oh, don't do the way I just did. There we go. There we go. So what is it? What month is this? March. March was much better. Much better than last year. And January was a little better. But was this February, April, May were all not as good as their previous year. That was minus 43%. That was minus 8%. That one is also minus 8%. And I imagine that I don't want to, like, try and, like, prophesy here. That's not what the plan is. But there's definitely a general sense of not getting stuff done. And a lot of people expect Squadron to be announced, or release date announced at CitizenCon this year. But they've already said, once Squadron Episode 1's out the door, they come back in the next day and work on Squadron Episode 2. Sure, Squadron Episode 2 will take 3 to 5 years to get out the door. And there's another 3 to 5 years later. That, finishes the trilogy. Then maybe they can do all cylinders firing on Star Citizen. But, like, that's 10 years from now. That's Star Citizen will be a completely different game by then. And they don't seem very focused on getting version 1 done. Again, they've said 4.0 this, 4.0 that, a lot. Just a ton. So it's kind of scary from here. And this is, like, my general vibe with the game right now is positive. I'm just choosing to focus on this topic for this hour or so that I have. And this is just kind of one of the things that has been recurring since a little bit now. That of all the things they're doing and all the things that they have, they seem very unfocused on what they're trying to do and where their goals are, where the public goalposts are or should be, and we just don't have them. We have no idea how to check CIG against any sort of goal so that we know that they're doing well. We don't have that. We only know content does or doesn't get in the game. Like, pets are supposed to be a thing. We don't even have bugs. Unless you count the static worms in caves. Like, it's interesting. I'm just gonna start repeating myself over and over again. Like, they seem unwilling to let themselves be checked by the backers because they won't tell us where they want to be in a year. Like that's why it was so amazing when we got the letter for the chairman's letter for the chairman's letters, because it had a stated goal in the letters. Sure, they wildly missed it, but we had the goal to check them against. Sure, he said in his second letter, hey, we might have missed the post, but at least he knew that we knew, and we knew that he knew where this goalpost was. Like, not, and like, I know, painfully know, that the second you add a goalpost and blow right by it, because that's game development, people are going to get very, very, very upset. What is the words? Unrelentingly, unreasonably. There we go. Upset. But not having goalposts burns not you with the bad press, but bad press, all press is good press. But it burns the loyal fans that want to be able to share with you on your share with you on your successes and be disappointed with you on your failures. And we don't have that. All we get is either players get fed content or stuff gets pulled. We don't get to choose our meals. We don't get to know what the next meal is going to be. Like, let's talk about 320. We know, or not know. We don't know 100% know, but we're pretty sure they haven't told us what 320 is. We don't know when they're planning to release 320. We have no ideas. It could be sometime in August. It could be sometime after Cisco. Not a clue. Not a clue. They just don't tell people, and this is a learned behavior. They have learned themselves into this behavior. This did not start out like this. Like, they used to say every time when they showed a different feature, like, hey, we want this out by this patch or this date. And the louder people read on Spectrum, the quieter they got. Which is the wrong thing to do. Because that only burns your loyal fans. Sure, you'll take crap. You'll take crap any day of the week by people who want to throw crap. People throw crap all the time. People yell in-game onto the in-game chat how terrible the game is. Still playing it. Thousands of people are still playing it. More people are coming in. I've gotten more new Star Citizen friends in the past 6 months than I think I've met over Star Citizen for the past 10. Let's see. It's very much muted response from CIG. Like, remember the roadmap update debacle. Which one? Which roadmap update debacle? Why is it in red? What did it do? Oh, it's gonna start over here anyway. That one. That. No, just I guess telling me that that's a moderator or something or other. Anyway, I would say very low. What's the deal with the stringing us along the road for Pyro? Yeah, so my biggest problem with Pyro and server meshing right now is they're not correcting the community. There are those who say, oh, they want Pyro in before server meshing, and then I would frankly be on the other side of the fence with, no, I don't want Pyro before server meshing because I want a game that actually plays like they announced, like they said to us, Pyro's coming with server meshing. They said it very, very plainly that Pyro's coming with server meshing. 4.0 is a big deal for that reason. Like, it's the very... It's the package that we were promised. I know, Paul's promise board, blah, 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 blah. But they're not correcting whoever's wrong. They're not saying, oh, we might or we're going to try. Not we might. They not said we're going to try or we're not going to try to get Pyro in before. They're not correcting anyone. And this is like correcting the community is a great thing to do on one of their shows. It like pick a show, whether it's the live show or the pre-record show, and in Jared's monologue, just sometime in there, just, oh, by the way, I've heard fans talking about this or that. This is actually our plan. It doesn't have to be Chris coming in and saying, oh, by the way, these are our actual plans. It can be just in Jared's monologue, telling us what the plan is. At least for correcting the players anyway. It can be in the monologue. Like, it would be really nice if we still got pillar talks. And not like I've always wanted Pillar Talks. So for those who don't know, there used to be a show called Pillar Talk, and they came out, I believe, right after a patch launch or something, or once a quarter. They came out once a quarter. And they would talk about several different pillars of the game, not all of them all at once, but several different ones. I would love for those to be a talk about goals set down, not, oh yeah, I really liked how mining came in this last update. We've been hearing about that for 6 to 9 months already. We don't want to hear about what just launched. We're playing it. We've listened to it for this last 9 months. Now we're playing it. Talk about future goals. Give us benchmarks to check you guys on. I'm curious before Citizen we will get, I assume, if we will get a letter from the chairman. No, there should be a quarterly letter from the chairman. Hands down, quarterly year from the chairman. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Chris should be at CitizenCon with his face on stage. Yes, we should get a quarterly check-in from him. I think that would satisfy most of my problems right now with the whole no milestones. But I want like concrete milestones. I want to see their list for an MVP. Yes, that could change. We know this. The roadmap changes all the time. But they seem so shy now to actually tell us a lot of things that aren't going directly to the roadmap. They're very, very comfortable with what they're putting out. And, like, sure, I get it. Public is annoying, to say the least. But, like, give us your milestones. That's all I got. That's all I got. Quarterly check-in needs to happen by Chris, not management, not marketing. Not so access. Yeah. For some reason I don't have YouTube, or not for some reason. I haven't figured out how to put YouTube chat in the thing as well. Yeah. Like, there needs two of the things that we've not gotten in a couple of years. Regular check-ins from Chris. And like the Chris Tyro talk was one, very long and very droll. However, it was very informational packed, and I loved it. However, it wasn't scheduled. It wasn't. It was a surprise that we got to see Chris. Kind of weird. That should have, like, oh, by the way, at the end we'll have this candid sit down with Chris, and he wants to talk about a couple things. He's bringing with him Rich Dyer. So, like, that would have been very fine, but they give it to us as a gift. That feels patronizing. So, yeah, I think a quarterly letter from the chairman. Doesn't even need to be as long as his letter from the chairman's word. Just like, hey, I'm the chairman. I love this game. You guys are great. Like, I'm sure he will go into something, but like, that's all we really need. Because he'll go into something. He'll say something. But like, as long as there's something there, it's great. I also think we need trying to think of a way to say this, not at CitizenCon, but probably at CitizenCon. But for each lead of all these different pillars, to state what they liked and disliked about the last year and their goals, milestones, goals for this next year. There was I think it was, I want to say whenever we had Reverse the Verse. I think it was a Reverse the Verse. It was one of the earlier ones after Frankfurt had come on recently, and Aaron Roberts had come on, and he said he was really excited that they were getting base building in that year. This was like 2016, 17. That was a goal. Sure, they way over the lined it, but like, it was a goal. And priorities vastly shifted, and we have like some of the stuff like when are they planning on doing the 600i rework? We heard there is a 600i rework and some key shot, but nothing. And that's another thing that I really hate about their communication, is they'll say they're doing things but never state where they want that thing to land. That's aggravating. It is fatiguing to have that stuff happen. A lot. I need to recap it on my Twitch or Kick channel. Oh yeah, I forgot what Kick. Need to look into that. Do you want to be the other commenter as a guest Nova? I can be if that there. Sure, I can be. There we go. You want to be lol word salad? Yes. All right, we should be getting pinged relatively soon here by Mr. Tree. So that's where I'm going to leave that topic for now. Like I keep saying, Star Citizen is my favorite game, hands down. And one of the things I like about it is the fact that it's so big, is the fact that it will never truly be done. But the need for goals is definitely present. The need to be able to say, this is where this is going to come in, or these are our milestones. Like 4.0 is a big milestone, and everyone knows they're going to miss the target. Everyone. Like, if you don't know that 4.0 is not going to be in till sometime mid to late next year, then you're wrong. You don't know game development, basically. You don't know game development or software development. If like everyone who knows, everyone who's been around a little while, everyone who knows software development, game development, knows that 4.0 is not coming in this year. It will probably not be in Evocati this year. And that's fine. They have a goal. They're working on their goal. we're still waiting for the second part of the server meshing ISC as well. Again, where is stuff? Stop just distribute. They really need to find some way of taking notes of the stuff that they're talking about. Like, I don't even know how they would like necessarily do it unless it was like somebody on the outside, and yes, somebody like me or Tree or something like that. Me, Tree, Astro, basically people who are keeping track of these things, and they're able to say, hey, you mentioned this, you haven't actually talked about it since this date. Like, Bounty Hunting V2, they haven't talked about in a while. Hey, we need to check up with Tony Z because we haven't heard from him in a while. Obviously, sure, they'll say we're going to put a pin in that for CitizenCon. That's where like the weird back and forth is that you need someone taking in all this stuff publicly, but you also need somebody who's allowed to see behind the curtain, and that's a very hard thing to do because people who can see behind the curtain see a much more cohesive picture than we do, because we only get the stuff that actually is enough to publish. And that happens in most games. A lot of it's one of the things that a lot of community managers lament a lot about their projects is behind the scenes it looks way better. They have way more things working in the background. For instance, 3 years ago, they had an internal version of server meshing running. Not for like game servers for the office, but like they had a demo on a PC running. They've had engineering working for a while now. They have Rastar, so they can play the RTS kind of thing. They probably have way more work on Arena Commander done in Office than out of Office. And those little projects that they do that never see the light of day, like the process or the project that led to Procedural Cities and ArcCorp being the way it is. They heard about, they saw it internally way before they saw it externally, or we saw it externally, like months before. And everything, I think I clocked it at everything we see in ISC is at least a month old. At least a month old. Yeah. This was me supposed to be stop talking about versus being big and large and meaning stuff. All right. Seriously, which one? I'm sorry, I can't remember things I said, so you have to add reference to what I said because I can't remember. I don't know why I can't remember. By the time somebody asks me a question about it, I'm probably 2 or 3 thoughts down the road, and my brain from that point is already looking for the next topic, so I won't remember what the thing is. The ISCs are month-ish, oldish. Yeah, a month oldish. Yeah, I forget how I calculated it, but it was due to some art. Like I was able to track like a ship and the shots they gave us in the ISC, and they said these were just being done when we had gotten later news about it that was up to date. It was about a month or so difference. Like it's not a bad note. Like that's the cost of high production is time. But just, a thing. It's just a thing. It's not a bad thing. But, just like as I can't remember stuff I've talked about, they probably don't remember a whole bunch of the stuff that they've talked about 2 or 3 episodes ago, 1 episode ago. So they might not even remember that they said there was going to be a series. Honestly, I think Jared would have that written down somewhere, sure. So he probably does. There we go. There's the thought. So he probably does actually know that there's supposed to be a server meshing video episode 2. But yeah. that kind of thing. All right, I would like to actually pull up that video while we sit and wait for Tree to get back to me. Anyone remember the name of that video? How old is that video? Oh my gosh. Ah, meshing together. Okay, 4 months old. 4 months old.
Meetings. Hands down the most exciting element in all of game development.
Okay, he pokes fun, but the amount that I would love to be just have a camera inside all of their meetings all the time and just binge watch Star Citizen game meetings is like, this is my favorite game. I would love to watch their meeting. I keep looking over here again. You guys are up there. I would absolutely love to watch, just binge watch Star Citizen meetings, because like obviously they'll have like a bunch of meetings each day, so I'll be able to like the next day I'd love to like just go through and watch them all. It'd be great. Like as far as public, like I like if there was like a third tier, or a subscriber tier that you need to get like 30 hours in the game a week to be able to be something like that. Something that like, hey, we want to know that you. So maybe like you have to have a combination of like X amount of hours in the game plus Wing Commander or some form of concierge, just so they know that you're not the person to, you know, make an account and watch this and read all over the internet. Like it. So I would love to see that. I don't expect it ever to come out.
Who's ever made a game will tell you that it's gathering in a meeting room and talking about stuff that's really their very favorite part of the process. Yes, the best days in game dev are the ones full of meetings, and the best behind-the-scenes content is always incredibly meeting-focused. Now, imagine a summit, an entire week dedicated to hashing out the plans for the next...
Okay, again, he says it's ironically. I believe it's unironically.
next month, quarter, year, and sometimes beyond. Yes, exciting stuff, I know. All kidding aside, summits are an essential element of game dev we don't
Again, I love everything he just said, unironically.
often get to explore. So when we heard that the core technology, network, and engine teams were coming together to discuss how best to...
All right, it's finally called. Moved.
All right, I think my
41.
camera
Hello.
looks okay.
Hi.
There's Nazareth.
All right. Yes, Cam.
What is this link you shared?
Oh, that's for Nazareth to throw me his camera.
Oh, hey,
So I can put it on. But we've got your fancy gift.
that one.
Are you gonna use the GIF? That was so
Oh,
funny.
hell yeah. Uh-huh. It's going to be awesome.
All right. So, we should be starting. How long till we start there, Tree?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. All right.
And I just want to dial in our audio, make sure we're all fairly equal. I have to play around with things because obviously I haven't used this setup in like 3.5 months. So
Okay. I thought there was a second light on. There shouldn't be. Hey, that looks better. Hair's a bit worse because just took a shower. So I'm not sure how much you heard about the pre-show to their Tree.
I did catch parts of it. I was playing with a kid, but I had you on in the background, so I heard things of what you're talking about. But actually, since we're almost ready here, so Shiny, you'll just sort of follow our lead. I'm assuming you've caught the podcast before, listened a little bit here and there.
You
So you're
are
not-
who I get all my opinions from. On the website, and I go, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I wanted to know about the numbers, and then I have nebulous ideas about things. But you really tie it together.
Drank.
There you go. Just use the N word and you'll be fine. The N word.
For yeah, nebulous, not the other.
Nuclear. That's the one you're referring to? Nuclear?
That
Yeah,
one works too.
nuclear,
That one works too.
nuclear fallout, and
Nobody wants to say nebulous anymore.
They say it all the time, though. So many people say it.
because Jared has said it so many times.
And then he like said it with like a little side eye, just like, is he talking to us?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Uh.
he and I had a conversation on Twitter once, and he even dropped it, and I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on."
I see you. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay, so
My camera currently looks a bit weird. It will look less weird when we actually start.
okay. Do me a favor, Shiny, if you want to give me a mic check just to talk for a few sentences about the normal distance from your mic, just so I can see where you are on the volume.
Alright, this is the normal distance from my mic. The brown dog jumps over the red fox and sees the blue fence and the green field. How's that?
Okay. Either I can turn you up in Discord, or if you've got room to turn yourself up on your mic, that would probably be better.
Am I quiet? Alright.
Yeah, you're a little quiet.
Oh man.
Just
my
so we're
input
all
volume
about
is
equal.
maxed out. How's that?
Okay, go ahead and give me another sound check.
Blah 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 blah. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Is it too loud?
Nope, sounds pretty good to me. I'm just looking at the little wavy bars.
Oh, we
that
are
show
already
the,
live.
the decibels between.
Oh wait, no,
you and I are
that's mine. I see.
good to go.
Oh, okay.
No,
Twitch is doing weird stuff. So I went to your channel tree, and it's suggesting my stream, which is currently on. So I started playing the audio.
Yeah, I was sharing the link with my
Not
girlfriend.
confusing at all.
I heard your voice twice. That's what's going on.
Oh boy. Man, I love this game. I love Star Citizen so much. Can it be October? I want all of my skepticism to melt away under the sheer force of information we get at CitizenCon.
It's gonna be 2 days of Mark Hamill slipper merchandise hawking, and that's it.
I would
They're not
love
gonna
if they
acknowledge
brought back some of the people that from the actors for Squadron to actually like do a panel like they do for all of their other content that they've made.
I think it would have to mean quite a lot if they showed up, right? If anybody showed up who was like an actor 10 years ago for it.
That's actually not as big as a oddity as you'd think, especially for motion captured content. Post-production is a how to not use the word that actually goes there, struggle. Like, post-production takes forever, and I've heard actors lament on, I think it was actually Mark Hamill himself that actually lamented this on a Wired autocomplete interview, that he's done so many projects, he'll just hear his kids watching TV and like, oh, hey, that's my voice. Because he didn't know. He didn't keep track of it. He's done so many things. So, like, actors do things, especially if it's like a smaller role in Squadron. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, I was paid for a job and did a thing. Oh, it's out now.
About, like, if like Gillian Anderson and Mark Strong showed up for some reason, I would think that would be like a marketing push of some sort.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like, could you imagine just a panel of some of the Squadron devs, or not devs, Squadron actors?
Yeah, the janitor. He's like, I'm the guy who does the mop and bucket.
Like, the crowd would absolutely flip if they brought him in, just because they brought someone in. Like, we got, Dev that does, locations, Dev that does ship, and by the way, this is the actor who played the janitor in Squadron 42. Just noise. Just, they could hear it, down the block.
Okay, so, and I've been listening to Naz, and so we've got your audio check done. We're all looking pretty equal. And see, pull that back up. Whoop. Okay.
So do you still only stream on
And I've
Twitch
got-
so far, Tree?
Yeah, I'll play around with the YouTube thing next month when I have time. I just, haven't had time since I got back and still need to figure things out. So we
I'm
shall
just
see.
my goal is to get banned by Twitch. So I have a reason not to use Twitch.
That's one way to go about it.
I mean, like, why not stream on both? Like, that way, when they ban me, if they ban me, when they ban me, all of my content will already be saved on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like, might as well.
I haven't looked into the rules for that too closely. Does it count as a simulcast if you delay like YouTube by a minute and a half or something? So it's not
I
real
don't
time.
know.
Last I checked on the TOS, it was 24 hours. But that was before the whole weirdness that they did. Where do they actually put that now? Where's
What you
the
do
TOS?
is you simulcast to TikTok, and then you stream TikTok to YouTube. You just daisy chain it. That's the strat.
But I'm pretty sure it's literally any simulcast. I'm pretty sure it's open ended.
And I thought that it's no simulcasting to dedicated like streaming platforms, but things like TikTok and like Instagram or Periscope or something were supposed to be fine because that platform isn't dedicated to that kind of content. Like forward facing anyways.
Well,
But you can't.
YouTube isn't either. It's a video platform. I'm not simulcasting to Netflix. That's a streaming platform. Like,
The
if that's
Nazareth
the
show.
language, gosh dang. I
I just
don't
don't
think
even want to have to worry about it. Like, I don't have the bandwidth to try and figure out all that stuff out. Like, I'm just a tiny a tiny fish in a large pond, who doesn't have the time or the energy to deal with it. Like, I just want to make my podcast for charity. I just got to be so hard. So we've got. I actually need to get it started here in just a second. Let it roll for a few minutes. Here, let me
I'm
do that, and then
waiting
I'll
to
just give you guys a little briefing on what I was thinking.
Yep.
So,
Just waiting
let's
for
see.
you to start up so I can shift everything your way.
You didn't need like me to have source code pulled up and stuff, right?
No. Unless you want to.
It's all publicly available on GitHub.
Oh, neat.
All of my projects that I work on that I don't get paid for as a software consultant are completely open source.
Okay. All right. So the stream is started. It's playing the video.
Okay, when you are
We've got
streaming
about
on
5
Twitch
minutes.
services, you may not simulcast. Yeah, simultaneously live stream or broadcast, simulcast to any other Twitch-like service, meaning any web-based network, platform, or service that supports live streaming, or of user-generated content. Nowhere that supports live streaming.
Yeah, probably.
It's like how
Okay.
screwed are you trying to be, Twitch? Because like that is all of the screwed. All right.
Well, see, does it count as
So-
live streaming if you're delayed by 20 minutes? I don't know.
All right. Bring it back. Bring it in, guys. Bring it in.
Yep.
Bring it in.
Yep. Rating.
So
rating.
we've got 4 minutes. So we have obviously the June 14th Roadmap Roundup. We'll go through that like we normally do. And what we'll do is just, with the different things that we can talk about our thoughts on the wheeled vehicle handling improvements, the Mirai Fury and the Tumble Storm. Nothing too out of the ordinary there, but if you have anything you got to say, by all means. And then from there, we'll get into the Shiny tracker. And Shiny, what I'd like is for you to just give a in your own words, breakdown of, what the Delta, I'll pull up the Delta report, I'll pull up the scheduled deliverables report, and then we'll do the scheduled work timeline. And just, if you can give in your own words, break those down, to anyone who's listening, what they are, what they mean, how you get the data, all that sort of information.